6 rangers walked into a canyon. 6 rangers walked into an ambush, but only 5 bodies hit the ground. 6 rangers walked into a canyon, but only 1 walked out. A lone ranger.
What do you want, stranger?
To make sure that no rangers walk out of that canyon. Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. I'm ERod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster, the Lone Ranger, one of the classic American heroes. He has been adapted to every conceivable form of media, and it was only a matter of time before he got the multi-million-dollar Hollywood treatment, which came at the hands of Jerry Bruckheimer and Disney Studios. With one of the biggest producers and one of the biggest studios of all time behind this adaptation, that means it must be good, right? Right? Let's find out. Hey fellas, ERod, huge fan.
John Reed, attorney at law.
You're a lawyer?
Well, yes.
But if you're not a Texas Ranger, why call yourself the Lone Ranger when you become a vigilante?
In honor of my brother, Daniel Reed, who was a ranger.
That is so funny, I'm gonna punch you. What about you, Kimasabi? Seen any sexy squads lately? Oh my god, you're a white boy.
What of it, mate?
What are you doing?
I'm just trying to get me personal effects so I get back to the Pearl.
What are you, Captain Jack Tonto? You get one of the most coveted minority roles of all time, and you don't have the common decency to get out of Pirates of the Caribbean mode?
Why's the rum always gone?
Alright, that's it!
What are you doing?
Making sure your chain is nice and tight.
Magic wood!
Interesting fact. Did you know that the casting of Johnny Depp as Tonto in this movie was not the only case of whitewashing associated with this franchise? Oh no, whitewashing goes all the way back to the origins of the Lone Ranger, as the actual real-life lawman that the Lone Ranger is based on was a black man. In the history of the Wild West, very few lawmen were as condecorated or as respected as Bass Reeves, the real-life Lone Ranger. The first African-American U.S. Marshal, he was credited with over 3,000 arrests, and at least 13 criminals met their demise at the speed, accuracy, and marksmanship of Bass Reeves. A master tracker, detective, and all-around badass, Reeves was the perfect template for a Western hero. So many dime novels of the era were based on his exploits, but unfortunately, they would always feature a white protagonist in the place of Reeves, the most famous of these adaptations being the Lone Ranger. While the franchise itself is a combination of many Western myths, the bulk of the Lone Ranger's characteristics and traits, from his amazing marksmanship to his kinship with Native Americans, all originated from Bass Reeves, the highly dedicated lawman who was as tough as he was well dressed. Why? Because presentation is everything, and the fact of the matter is that cool guys wear suits. Nuff said. Hold on, I think I hear more tacked on ridiculousness being added onto this movie. Excuse me. Oh, jeez, what are you doing?
Need Kimosabi to defeat Wendigo.
You need a lawyer to help you fight a mythical beast?
Yes?
Why? Are you gonna sue the Wendigo? Are you making this shit up as you go along?
No, Skyfather told me.
There's no Wendigo, is there?
Butch Cavendish eats the hearts of his enemies.
Eating hearts doesn't make you a mythical monster. It makes you a cannibal in a Disney movie.
Kimosabi must hide his identity with this.
Hide his identity from who? He just moved here. Nobody knows him. Stop it with the lazy plot conveniences.
Whoa! We seem to be surrounded, Kimosabi.
We surrender. I'm putting down my gun. Well, that worked out.
Good shot.
No, 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 no! You defeated 2 bad guys by accident? What are you, Inspector Clouseau? The Lone Ranger has one major character trait. He is an expert marksman. By turning him into a clumsy fool that defeats the bad guys by accident is just demeaning to the character. First we have 21 Jump Street over here, making this movie uncomfortably politically incorrect. And now this? Get some ice, boys. It only gets more painful from here.
Quick note. To make a good guy character interesting, you do not have to turn him into an incompetent schmuck. And hey, I partially get it. Knocking a pristine, handsome hero down a peg makes the character more relatable. But this movie knocks its protagonist down so many times, it's hard to understand why he's the hero of the story in the first place. By ridiculing and humiliating him over and over again. They're not diffusing the joke of a masked man trying to fight crime in the Old West. They are highlighting it and making us as an audience question why this guy would be effective at what he does, or more importantly, why he would be worth watching for an hour and a half. Now, I'm not blaming Armie Hammer. He brought as much charm and charisma to the part as anyone could muster. But it seems like all of his efforts would continuously be undone by one scene after the other of the Lone Ranger being treated like a gullible, inexperienced idiot. Now, I know what you're thinking. ERod, is it even possible to create a good guy character that has no gray area and still have that character be interesting? Absolutely! Look at Samurai Jack, Superman, Captain America, or the most popular example of them all, Spider-Man. He might be inexperienced and the subject of much humiliation, but he's still a competent hero. And, oh man, is this movie ripping off the Antonio Banderas Zorro movies again? Excuse me, I gotta go deal with this now.
Don't worry, Rebecca. I'm coming. Hi-yo, silver away.
Hey, what you doing?
Damn it. I'm going to rescue my girlfriend and her son.
Like the Legend of Zorro?
No, I'm going to ride my horse on top of the train.
Like the Legend of Zorro?
No, but I'm going to trap the bad guy in the train and then swing on my whip to safety.
Like the Legend of Zorro?
You know what? I'm just going to crawl inside the engine and pull the brakes.
Good man.
You know what? I could stand here for hours pointing out every single flaw in this movie, but ultimately, it all comes down to one thing. Instead of focusing on what made this franchise unique, a masked crime fighter in the Wild West, they decided to cram all manner of motifs and concepts into it from other franchises that they knew worked. Buddy cop movie, Jack Sparrow, Zorro, enough CG to choke a donkey. In a time when our cinemas are packed with big-budget CGI-saturated fantasy films, a movie about a good old-fashioned Western folk hero really would have stood out. But unfortunately, instead of trusting the source material, the creators opted to turn this into your atypical summer blockbuster. And it just didn't work. Which is a crying shame because The Lone Ranger could have been adapted into a great film franchise. Alright. Let's finish this.
There's just one way to settle this. On the count of 3, draw. 1, 2.
You seem to have missed Kimosabi.
So the lesson here is simple, folks. A big budget and unlimited resources does not a good movie make. So that was one busted, thousands more to go. I'm ERod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster.